for a YouTube video. Because you know what? I just gotta do it. There is no other way for me. In this game of life, there is no other way for me, guys. By the way, peep this. Oof, Sunday Night Live World Cup conversations. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? It's so Trimsky. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so inside Uruguay. Okay, so I just started recording. Basically, this is like we're reading an article about Marcelo Bielsa and his crash out. That was followed by Fede Valverde's outburst in the media, and it's all just a shit show, honestly, because Fede Valverde he had an eventful 2026 Fight Club fixture, Fight Night UFC 300 something with Arlene Chouameni. And then he had a beef with Bielsa also, apparently. Imagine getting your head busted open by Chouameni and then going to your national team to this crash out.
Dale de una vez.
Dale de una vez. Dale de una vez.
Dale de una vez.
Okay, so that's what happened. For those of you who don't know, after they lost, right? And now, oops, that's for laters. And now we're trying to figure out what happened actually. South Africa, Canada, they're doing, it's a stinker. Okay, I said it officially. It's a stinker. It's a 0-0. It's a 60th minute. Nothing to watch in this game. It's a dead round of 32 so far. Waiting for Brazil tomorrow. Okay, let's keep going. Inside Uruguay's Marcelo Bielsa dreadful World Cup. As it ends, Marcelo Bielsa sitting on a cool box. So today, Uruguay have just lost 1-0 to Spain after a third major error of the tournament from the goalkeeper Fernando Muslera. For those of you who don't know, the goal was conceded by Muslera by Uruguay, and it was sort of like a keeper mistake. If we're keeping it in the box, it was. Okay, their captain Federico Valverde was substituted after less than an hour. Both he and Bielsa ignored each other as the Real Madrid midfielder trudged off the pitch. The forward Agustin Canobio was red-carded in the final seconds after grabbing referee Ismail El Fath's arm and flinging it away. Oh. I think we need to be very self-critical, correct many things within the group, Canobio told. Within the group, it means within the team. Bielsa watched on impassively. A managerial appointment that began with so much promise concluded in aggression, arguments, and a winless exit from the World Cup. Waiting pitchside for his flash interview, the coach's face suddenly breaks. Dale de una vez! Dale de una vez! He yells in Spanish. Get on with it. Like, ask me questions, basically, because I don't want to be here answering questions after the game, after the stinker of a game that we lost, and after this MMA match that we, that we instigated. Because after, make no mistake, after Uruguay conceded, the game plan, I think it went out of the way and out the window, sorry, and they started just tackling. They started tackling Spanish players, and one consequence of that is that Manuel Ugarte, which is a Manchester United player, he is injured now. So basically, he has an ACL, which leaves him out of the big football for like half a year to 1 year. So maybe he will miss the whole season. Well, I mean, it's not like he was our key player, but we wanted to sell him. Let's be real. Let's be clear, right? Let's be honest. We wanted to sell Manuel Ugarte, so then we can buy like another midfielder. So we already got Ederson, Matheus Fernandes in talks. Maybe there is another figure, maybe Chouameni, maybe Adam Wharton, hopefully. And then there was talk about someone else. But now that Ugarte is injured and we cannot sell him, we cannot move him on, so we gotta first help him recover from this injury. And of course, I wish health to Manny Ugarte, because on YouTube I already posted a video where I said, like, you know what, I was skeptical a little bit about it because I was kind of pissed off because I didn't understand what he was doing actually, because he was so late on the tackle on Pedri, like he never got the hold of the ball whatsoever. And it also, I will, you know what, now we have a scapegoat and I will blame Bielsa for this injury. So Manchester United, the fact that Manchester United cannot acquire another extra midfielder this summer, I blame it purely on Marcelo Bielsa and his game model and his per camp and everything. Because players cannot play like this. I'm sorry, but like every time you go beyond your limit and you try to be super aggressive, it bites you because players get injured, because you cannot sustain the same level of intensity throughout all this time of 90 minutes, and then also in training, because like there's a big conversation, meaning like a lot of people who are in professional sports, especially in team sports, they stated openly that some coaches, they basically try to create the game-like environment during training sessions, which means it's very intense, it's very like high risk and high pressure situation. And basically what it allows later during the actual fixture, right, during the actual game, players already experience so much hell, so this game for them, maybe it's even less challenging because they already like work their ass off during the week during training sessions. And I believe that this is Marcelo Bielsa's approach, the level of intensity during his training sessions, and like how strict he is and how, like, you know, borderline sadistic his methods are. It definitely affected this performance, this display. And Manu Ugarte, he's now injured with ACL, and that's what Fede Valverde later, I believe that's what he said later after the game when he criticized openly in the media Marcelo Bielsa. Okay, going back to Dale de una vez. It was an outburst which summarized a tempestuous rain. Sources with knowledge of the tournament and its preparations speaking anonymously to protect relationships. Oh, whoa. Speaking to protect relationships. Long-running issues over Bielsa's squad management, concerns over whether the intensity of training sessions was stretching the players, led to injuries. Senior players staged an intervention in an attempt to change the style versus Spain. A final pre-match meeting in which Bielsa failed to soothe his squad's unease. If you ask me how my time will be remembered, said Bielsa in a post-game press conference, it is a tenure that has left nothing behind. Like, he burned it to the ground, basically. It's a crash and burn approach. It's a burning ground, scorching earth approach. Oh, you madman. Oh, you gray-haired madman. Okay, let me sip something. Sipping ginger tea, by the way, and lemon. Back in 2023, the Uruguayan Football Association were delighted to secure Bielsa on a 3-year contract. The Argentine is extremely selective about the projects he takes and had not managed internationally since leaving Chile in 2011. But he managed the clubs. He managed the Spanish clubs, from what I understand. Ignacio Alonso, the president of the Uruguayan Football Associations, had been tasked with finding a big name and succeeded, with Bielsa available after a remarkable 4 years at Leeds United. Okay, so his job was at Leeds United. Indeed, because I saw him in Premier League at some point. A legend of both the club and the international game, including a successful spells with Argentina, Chile, Atletico Club, that's where I remember him from. Bielsa's uncompromising and fearless brand of high-tempo attacking football has made him one of the most influential coaches of the past 50 years. I think it's very generous. I think it's very generous because let's see what actually he has won. Okay, what are his trophy? What is his trophy cabinet? After three, it might be a little bit too spacious in his trophy cabinet. After 3 months of negotiations, his contract would make him the most expensive coach of the 2024 Copa America. Wow. Oh, yes. Give me that salary, says Marcelo Bielsa. And then I will crash out on live TV. Before taking the Uruguay job, Bielsa had interest from clubs including Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Atletico Club, again, Athletic Bilbao, coming extremely close to joining Everton. Oh my goodness, they already have an amazing manager in David Moyes. Moisey, as well as hearing out an approach for a sensational return to Leeds before the West Yorkshire club appointed current manager Daniel Farke. Or Fark, whatever. What is this brand of water? Vitale. If anyone tried it, let me know, please, in the comments. How is it? Is it soft water? In his first comments, Bielsa said he had been attracted by the qualities of the squad, including players such as Valverde, Manu Ugarte. Yeah, you goddamn madman, Bielsa. Darwin Nunez and Rodrigo Bentancur. Though still boasting an older core of Luis Suarez, Edinson Cavani, and Thiago Godin. His first squad and subsequent switch to 4-3-3 immediately ended the international careers of many of the latter group, though Suarez remained through until the end of the 2024 Copa America. It's Luis Suarez, the guy who bites, I think, who bites players, from ex-Liverpool player, from what I understand. Earlier results justified Bielsa's evolution of the squad. Uruguay scored twice as many goals as any other side in the first 6 rounds of CONMEBOL qualifying, a purple patch, which included a 2-0 home win over Brazil and a 2-0 triumph in Argentina, their first away victory over their neighbors in 12 years. The development of players such as Maxi Araujo and Sebastián Casares, both viewed as Bielsa's projects, also strengthened the coach's reputation. He deserves so much respect for what he believes. It's a different style, a different game, a different intent, Valverde said at that stage, when they were winning against Brazil and Argentina. I have greatly improved my psychological equilibrium playing under him. Wow. Fede Valverde knows words like psychological equilibrium. I mean, he's truly one hell of a player. The 2024 Copa America, however, had its difficulties despite an impressive third-place result. After their 5-0 win over Bolivia in their second game. But this is, talking about Copa America, it's like 2 years prior this competition. And this tournament was won by Argentina, by the way. Okay, so 3 games as they were eliminated by 10-man Colombia in the semifinals. That game was marked by violence between Uruguay's players and opposition supporters after full time. Though on board with his ideas, Bielsa's blunt and cursory management style also jarred with several players. Cannavaro had a major fallout with the coach, telling Uruguayan radio station Carve Deportiva that he felt disrespected. Can you imagine that? The guy felt disrespected. Put some respect on his name. He belittled me in front of the whole group in practice, Cannavaro said, who would later be left out of squad for almost 2 years, only returning before this tournament. Another example, because I had both legs resting on the chair legs, he started criticizing me, saying it was disrespectful, rude. He was attacking my family's upbringing. Bielsa insisted in the aftermath that he never stopped considering Cannavaro for selection. Suarez, a legend of Uruguayan football, disclosed some of the issues within the squad after the post-tournament retirement. There were situations that occurred at the Copa America that hurt to see, that I didn't talk about for good of the group, he said at the press conference. So a huge amount of suffering basically there. It's going to continue to happen. The players are going to reach a limit and explode. To be honest, Bielsa reached the limit and explode, okay? That's what you get when you're trying to like push limit, like and you just like turn a blind eye to the actual reality. At the Copa America, there were players who told me, Luis, I'll play the Copa America and then I won't play again. Is exactly what I said when after watching England Panama. I said, Lewis, I said like, guys, I watch England Panama, but then I won't watch England ever again. Alleged issues included Bielsa's lack of warmth towards players, unreasonable behavior towards support staff, and separate training sessions for starters and substitutes. Suarez claimed he only trained against then Liverpool striker Nunez once. He also brought up an incident that previous autumn in which Bielsa reduced Nunez to tears after halftime dressing down. According to Suarez, who said he comforted Nunez in the tunnel, Bielsa believed that his own blunt intervention had been responsible for the second half improvement. Suarez went on to claim that Bielsa's comments, including calling tournament organizers a plague of liars, so he's going after everyone. And quote, so his own players, organize everyone. Is he going after himself though? And the coaching methods had been legitimized by the AUF leadership. It pains me to say this, but President Ignacio Alonso and manager Jorge Giordano allowed it, says Suarez. They were the ones who gave him the authority to treat the staff that way in a sadistic, Führer-like manner. Notably, no players publicly leapt to Bielsa's defense after the Copa America, with former captain Godin stating that Suarez had tried to address the issues internally. The current captain Valverde also failed to dampen the fire, telling reporters in Uruguay that what Luis said is all true. He never lied. He never said anything that wasn't the case. He didn't exaggerate. He said things as they are. I'm not unaware of what happened, and I know what my authority is affected. That my authority is affected in some way. Bielsa said before the subsequent World Cup qualifiers, but I prepared for the match with the utmost seriousness, and the players' response was the same as when I started working here. It did not alter the conviction with which the match was prepared in any way. Other anecdotes paint Bielsa in a better light. Last February, the coach made a surprise appearance at the funeral of Guillermo Varela's mother. He simply gave me a hug, and I was truly happy, as was my family, with that gesture. The fullback told the radio. He was also viewed favorably for regularly sitting alongside ordinary fans at league matches, praising Uruguayan citizens for their civility. Increasingly, however, Uruguay's camp was becoming unhappier as results stagnated. A run of 12 games between July 2024 and June 2025 brought just a single win, with the side unable to score in 9 of those fixtures. High-profile players including Valverde, Bentancur, Ugarte, Nunez, Facundo Pellistri all appeared significantly below their best while wearing Uruguay's sky blue jersey. Beautiful jersey, by the way. Especially this World Cup, they had a beautiful color also on that jersey, and the color was even lighter than this. High-profile players, after 5-1 friendly defeat against the United States last November, the self-aware Bielsa admitted to some of his difficulties in managing the squad. I'm toxic, he admitted. Being around me makes people worse. Oh my goodness! And he's also doing throwing ashes at his own head, basically. Like, oh my goodness, this is a horrible combination. Very difficult man to communicate with, I'm pretty sure. One source close to the squad, speaking anonymously to protect relationship, told The Athletic that the AUF considered sacking Bielsa around this period, aware of the ongoing issues with the squad. Ultimately, with the World Cup just months away, the AUF decided not to make the change. Another long-running issue among players, according to multiple sources with knowledge of the sessions, was Bielsa's intense approach towards conditioning and training sessions, owing to the incredible demands of his all-action style, a critique which has been raised in previous jobs. Compared to the modern recovery methods at many of other clubs, Bielsa's Uruguay camps were a throwback. Barcelona centre-back Ronald Araujo, one of the squad's key players, arrived at Uruguay's pre-tournament camp with a minor calf issue that worsened during training. Before leaving Barcelona, he had been warned not to partake in certain drills at full effort yet. Thanks for injuring players just day before the World Cup. Araujo's brothers wrote on Instagram in subsequently deleted post. Araujo's injury drowned another controversy which had been brewing in the Uruguayan cycle after versatile veteran Nathan Nandes, a virtual ever-present during Bielsa's reign, was omitted from the final squad. The 30-year-old, okay, Canada, trying. The 30-year-old was not told directly by Bielsa, instead being texted by an assistant on the coach's behalf. Defender Jose Maria Jimenez expressed his surprise at the decision, defending Nanes against reports that he had been dropped by Bielsa for disciplinary reasons. Suarez had also signaled his willingness to return to the national side, but his omission, given his comments about Bielsa's management, was unsurprising. Instead, the surprise veteran selection was goalkeeper Fernando Muslera, who turned 40 during the tournament. This was his fifth World Cup squad after an excellent season for Argentine side Estudiantes. Bielsa opted not to play warm-up games ahead of the World Cup, preferring instead to spend the time developing his side's tactical shape. While he explained his decision in detail before the tournament, it marked Uruguay apart from every other serious contender. If there is one thing I criticize, it's that we didn't play any preliminary matches to see some things before the World Cup. Perhaps we gave them a slight advantage in that respect. Said a respected former national manager Alvaro Gutierrez. In their first match against Saudi Arabia in Miami, Uruguay fell behind after an error from Muslera, who was unable to hold a routine catch from a corner, allowing Abdullah Alamri to tap in. The picture of a goal. Their attacking difficulties of the past 2 years also came to fore, with Bielsa's side unable to create from the open play despite dominating possession. Only a late 80th minute rebound from Maxi Araujo rescued a point. Despite their time in camp together, it already sounds like concentration camp, and a squad which has been relatively settled for the past 2 seasons, Uruguay appeared to lack chemistry. 6 days later, against Minon's Cape Verde, many of the same issues arose. For all their intensity, Uruguay couldn't avoid self-inflicted errors. Muslera was beaten by a free kick from over 30 yards for Cape Verde's opener. And though in a normal situation with a normal team, with a normal coach, after your keeper makes this mistake twice, you just don't start him in a third game. In a more healthy environment, after one mistake, the keeper will be already benched. There will be another one. But with this guy, with Bielsa, for some reason, he trusted this keeper for the third time after he was making 2 mistakes in a row in 2 consecutive games. Okay, so for all their intensity, Cape Verde opener, and though 2 quick goals from diagonal balls put Uruguay in the lead, a poor mix-up between a goalkeeper and a center-back, Matias Oliveira, led to an embarrassing equalizer. Bielsa publicly defended his goalkeeper after the mistakes, but after Uruguay's exit, he admitted that his decision to pick the 40-year-old over Sergio Rocher, Uruguay's starter at the last World Cup, should be reviewed. Oh my God, it's horrible, really. When I selected Muslera, I went through an exhaustive process. I cannot deny that there should be an evaluation into Muslera's participation, but he came from having a magnificent club season. He has a lot of experience and personality. Regardless, Uruguay had played themselves into a corner. Whilst a win in their final game against European champions Spain could still have been seen them top of the group, or a draw secure process in either second place or as one of the best third place teams, a loss guaranteed their exit, and they're lost, obviously. In the days before the match, concerned with Uruguay's performance so far in the tournament, some of their senior players asked to speak with Bielsa. The group included the team's entire starting midfield, Valverde, Bentancur, and Ugarte, as well as goalkeeper Rocher, who all hold formal or informal leadership positions within the team. That's Fede Valverde right there. From this picture, it's unclear where the scar is from the Chouameni fight. Believing they were speaking on behalf of the dressing room, they told Bielsa that they wished to play a different style against the dangerous Spanish side. Rather than press high and aggressively, the players expressed a preference to set up a low block and counterattack. According to sources with knowledge of what was discussed, speaking anonymously to protect relationships, they also brought up the intensity of the training sessions as a factor, referencing their fatigue. This was a significant step. Bielsa is both one of the most ideological and uncompromising managers in the world football, who also demands a fierce loyalty from his squad, as several players during the Uruguay reign have discovered. For the players involved, they justified the intervention as an attempt to correct the side's course rather than to blow things up. But with a manager like this, everything that is, any attempt to be just honest with him, it can be considered like an attack, personal attack, just because he's a crash out. Okay, so in response, Bielsa held a meeting with an entire squad in an attempt to explain his rationale for Friday's evening crucial game against Spain. At the end of the lengthy discussion led by Bielsa, several members of the squad were no closer to understanding their approach against Spain, though it had been made clear that refusing to press was not an option. Uruguay actually competed well with Spain for the first 30 minutes at Guadalajara Estadio Akron. Ugarte was tasked with dropping into defense as a third center back when of possession, turning Bielsa's 4-3-3 into 5-4-1. Initially, their physicality also shocked Spain, with referee El Fat allowing the game to flow. On two occasions, a Spanish player remained on the floor after being strongly dispossessed, with Uruguay fashioning chances for Nunez, reintroduced to the starting lineup as Bielsa only changed after the Cape Verde draw. However, the game's key moment came after 32 minutes. Muslera should have easily saved a weak shot from Spain left winger Alex Baena, but with his feet slow to move, he could only palm it into his own bottom corner. The mistake meant that Muslera is only keeper since data records began to commit 3 errors leading to goals in a single World Cup. Recalling him to start over Rocher was one of Bielsa's biggest calls into entering the tournament, and it was a decision that went catastrophically wrong. Muslera was replaced by Rocher for the second half, with Bielsa's post-match comments unclear as to whether this was the keeper's choice, his own, or a decision taken by the player that he decided to sanction. He decided to come off at halftime. Bielsa said it in his press conference. The decision I took was not to undermine Muslera's confidence, but rather to maintain it. Remarkably, this was not his most controversial substitution of the evening. A suspected anterior cruciate ligament injury for Ugarte, ACL, in the build-up for the goal had led to the introduction of Flamengo's Nicolas de la Cruz, who joined Bentancur and Valverde in the midfield trio. Valverde was not at his best against Spain, just as he failed to perform because they were knackered from the training session, I assume. That's why Ugarte picked up that injury also, I'm pretty sure. Because he told him, you got to press at all times. And Ugarte, it's like he loves to kind of like, he loves to be a little bit aggressive, and he took it as like, as a green light. So whatever. Okay, nevertheless, it was still a shock that the Real Madrid midfielder was withdrawn by Bielsa just after 57 minutes, the earliest that the side's best player has ever been taken off while playing for the national team. I subbed off Fede Valverde as I wanted more presence in the attack, Bielsa said post-match as his only justification. Bielsa and Valverde did not exchange a word as the... Can you imagine, like, losing a game, your midfielder getting ACL, you're losing, you getting subbed off, and this motherfucker just sitting there like this, ignoring you also. And there is tension, psychological tension, and everyone feels it. This shit is crazy. Bielsa and Valverde didn't exchange a word as the midfielder walked off. The 27-year-old walked straight to the bench where he shook himself free from the embrace of an assistant coach, covering his face with the bottom of his shirt in an apparent attempt to air his frustration without being lip read. One half-hearted shout for a penalty aside, Uruguay never came close to scoring the equalizer they needed, a goal that would have sent them into the last 32 tie against Argentina, just as occurred after exits at the 2022 World Cup and 2024 Copa America. The match ended in a blur of violence and aggression. It was ironic that Canobio recalled to the national side ahead of this World Cup after his argument with Bielsa was the final individual to battle against the dying of the light. He was deservedly sent off after a reckless foul on Pau Cubarsí before grabbing the referee's arm and tossing it to the side in indignation. Post-match, no Uruguayan player consented to provide a FIFA-mandated interview in the mixed zone, though three players stopped later, with the tournament official telling The Athletic that they had refused owing to the manner in which the match ended. The official added that the Uruguay may now face a potential sanction. The squad had arrived as one unit on a charter plane on the way home. They would scatter their own ways back to their respective clubs. Oh, it's a mess. A source close to one of those players stated there was no communication between Bielsa and several of the Uruguayan squad to their knowledge after the defeat. It was an ugly end. The AUF did not comment on points made in this article when contacted by The Athletic. Before the tournament, AUF President Alonso had set a target of reaching at least the quarterfinals, aiming to demonstrate the two-time World Cup champions were one of the 10 best sides in the world. He had hired Bielsa to take them there and empowered his coach. They had got nowhere near. Bielsa was always expected to leave after the tournament, stating publicly in May that his job ends with the World Cup, though he rowed back somewhat on those comments at the beginning of June. One source close to the Bielsa indicated to The Athletic that they believed this could be the 70-year-old's final major job, owing in part to how Uruguay's spell unfolded, but added that the coach typically never explains his thinking fully. Whoever were guessing up Bielsa, that's what you get with this type of coach and with this type of profile and character and personality and this type of tactic. Much of Uruguay's core are currently at their peak. Ugarte is 25, Maxi Araujo is 26, Nunez, Valverde, and Ronald Araujo at 27. Bentancur is 28. Though all have the potential to play another World Cup, Uruguay already had the 50th oldest squad of all 48 teams at the tournament, with no player aged younger than 24. Where are the next generation coming from? Uruguay won the Under-20 World Cup in 2023, but none of the crop have managed to establish themselves in the senior side. Bielsa was criticized in Uruguay for playing several of them out of position during Olympic qualifying, but in his defense, very few have either established themselves in Europe at the top South America or the top South American sides. But little of this mattered at the Estadio Akron. I am responsible for this disappointment, Bielsa admitted after the defeat to Spain. Although several players were undoubtedly below their best in North America, Bielsa refused to share the blame. It leaves Uruguay in a need for rebuilding once again. I leave nothing to Uruguayan football, concluded Bielsa. Any contribution I might make to a country where I have worked for 3 years, Canada with a goal, finally, in added time. Any contribution I might make to a country where I have worked for 3 years fails to take root at results if results aren't achieved. What a difficult person to deal with. I can already feel like how difficult this guy is, you know. Absolutely, yeah. You know it's fucked up when Luis Suarez, the vampire, is the one who's speaking sense, who's making sense actually. I mean, he gave him a huge comment. I'm not gonna read that, but yeah, a biting commentary. Okay. Good riddance. Until Uruguay can attempt to compete without their absurd aggression, I'm so happy to see them. I mean, there is nothing wrong with being aggressive as long as you are not misplacing the tackles, right? As long as you're not injuring the opposition players and you're not injuring your own players. Okay? It's so obvious. We went through this when Ten Hag was at the wheel. He overtrained, he overcoached also the squad, and the players were knackered. The players were knackered. They were so tired, they couldn't perform because they were training. Because the training session were exhausting, and then when it was time to play, they were picking up injuries. The thing is that like the common sense should win. Okay, so regardless of this desires of this like gray-haired man, like, and what he's trying to build, like the common sense should prevail. Especially if you're 70 years old, maybe it's time to just like open the door to a possibility of like building something sustainable, because you cannot just build something like a football team that is based on just aggressive tackles, high press, and like all this stuff, because they will get exhausted, they will get frustrated, they will get outplayed, because technically only 5 players maybe in Uruguay squad are like up to a certain level. So they will get outplayed by Spain any other day, and like you cannot just like rely on this. We already saw how different teams approached playing against such teams, like like for example how Ghana played against England, right? They set up a low block, they still had chances, they couldn't convert them, but they had chances. But what about Uruguay? Like look at their quality, like in the midfield, in the attack also. You think they couldn't have converted the counter, let's say, if they indeed chose to play low block? It's a big question. So that leaves us with this information about Marcelo Bielsa and his like coaching genius. I wonder if some people will actually sort of doubt or change their opinions on this coach, because when everyone in your team is suffering because of you and you cannot win and players get injured, it means you are the problem. And instead of just like bashing yourself and like doing this like self-hate commentary or like self-deprecating commentary, just step down and just like take it easy, like, and just see what else like what are other ideas. Maybe you have some other ideas. Maybe maybe it's time to kind of adapt a little bit more to the times, because no one really plays that aggressive football anymore. Some teams play like a little bit of a dark arts cheating football, but no one is really playing that aggressive football where they're just tackling and injuring players, their own and the opposition. So with that being said, that was the article on Marcelo Bielsa. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. And Canada, it looks like they're won, and they're the first team that go to the 16 knockouts. And what else is important? I think that there will be another article on the way about Lamine Yamal and about his media presence, about his brand in general, this World Cup, and obviously about his performance for Spain and for Barcelona. So let me know what you think about this format. Do you enjoy this? And please share your comments on Marcelo Bielsa, on Uruguay, and in general on any of these World Cup topics. And please subscribe to the channel, okay? Subscribe to the channel because we gotta grow. We gotta go up.